everybody. We are in the Flatten Your Fear Summit. This is all about getting past those things that are holding you back. Everybody wants to find their purpose and walk in their destiny. You were created on purpose for a purpose. So today I am bringing you the amazing Trish Jenkins. Trish, welcome to the summit.
Hey, Elizabeth. I'm thrilled to be here. I feel like I'm actually in America and not just in Brisbane, Australia. Woo!
Woo! I told everybody this is a global summit, and here we are reaching across oceans. And you know what? This kind of heart to heart knows no boundaries. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. We need to jump into your story because I want to tell you, you are an unusual person. You have an unusual story, and somebody out there today listening to this is going to be so blessed and so amazed at what has happened in your life. So we got to get started. We have a lot to talk about. So the first thing I want you to do, Trish, is I want you to reach back in time a little bit. Tell us what was going on in your life and what happened that you wound up in prison and all of the steps that you can share. We're talking about that story and the fear you had to address. So take us back in time so we understand how you got there.
Okay, great. Yes, there's nothing like just sharing publicly the thing that you would most want to hide.
Oh my gosh.
and you know, that's where its power and the fear of it dissolves when you share things. So I was a regular wife, mother, working woman in the early 2000s, and we were investing. We had a couple of rental properties, a few of those. We were actually doing pretty well, and I began working for a fellow who ran a mutual fund.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't know is that he was actually a crook, and he was stealing. Yeah, he was. You've made a few movies in America about this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So he was stealing investors' money, including my own. I had money invested with him. And my role was making sure people got paid. And suddenly he was not paying. It turned out to be a Ponzi scheme, which is when, if people may know, it's where you think you're getting your return, but it's actually a little bit of your own money coming in. And more money has to come in to keep it going. And it's just basically cycling money, and eventually it implodes. So he got to the point where he couldn't pay people, and my job was to pay them. So I'm the muggins in the middle and I didn't know it was all gone. I just knew there was a tough time in the market. But for 3 months, I had people calling, emailing, turning up at my home, asking, begging, demanding money.
Oh my God.
And I just couldn't take it anymore, and he was more and more elusive, and my mental health deteriorated, my resilience ran out, and I said to him, look, you've got money here, can I use that to pay them? Yeah. He said, all right, do that. So I made a payment to people as a way to relieve that pressure.
Sure.
But what I did was not the right way to do it. What I did was in breach of the Corporations Act.
Wow.
And so I thought it would be okay just till next month.
Yeah.
You know, we can make these decisions under pressure out of fear.
Yes.
Because we're trying to control something that we don't really know cannot be controlled. So I made that decision, and that was caving under pressure.
Wow.
And I shouldn't have done it. If I could do it over, I wouldn't do it. But it's done. Yeah. Anyway, the whole thing collapsed. He was reported to the authorities, and I was brought in to talk to them about what I knew, which was still nothing. It wasn't until the liquidation that I found out he'd stolen everybody's money. We were put into voluntary liquidation, and in that we lost everything. Everything got. I tell you what terror is you know, the fear went on for years.
Yeah.
So this was 2005, and we spent a couple of years, 2 to 3 years being liquidated, having all of our assets sold up, including our home.
Oh, Trish.
And that was like the death of 1,000 cuts. I remember the fear when a letter turns up in your mailbox and it's got in the corner, it's got who it's from, and it's the logo of the government.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was like a snake curled up in my letterbox. It was like, and
Yes.
butterflies, I would want to throw up, and
Yeah.
I would be shaking, and I just couldn't even look at it. And just when you think things can't get any worse, they do.
Mm.
And I was prosecuted because I had breached the act. And then global financial crisis, 2008, if you remember,
Of
and
course.
Muggins turns up to court for her penalty January '09.
Wow.
And when I could have got a fine, I got the maximum. And I
Oh,
was taken away from my husband and our 3 little girls for 8 months.
oh my gosh. I can't, I read this and I hear you say it, and I am just so struggling to just comprehend it. I mean, everything you've described, I think anyone who's had legal trouble, extreme financial trouble, that feeling, that sickness, but you actually, it went all the way for you. I mean, you lost everything. And then it actually went to time. What did that feel like when you heard that sentence?
Actually, Elizabeth, the fear of the unknown is worse than
Yes.
when it actually happens. And I honestly felt relief when I
Mm.
heard what the sentence was. Because
Yeah.
even during the court, the judge got mad at the prosecution for not asking for more time. And I went,
Wow.
and that it didn't, nothing went well. And I reassessed what could happen. And I thought, if it's under a year, I'll manage.
Yeah.
He said 2.5 years head sentence to be suspended after 8 months. And at first I'm like, 8 months. And I
Oh
just
my
went, it's less than a year, I'll be okay. And I swung around to my parents and I said, it's less than a year, it's okay. Um, the fear of the unknown. There were a number of things that I had to learn during that period to overcome fear. And then I had to learn to overcome fear in prison. And
Mm.
then I had to learn to overcome fear when I came home and I was once again with the regular people.
Wow.
But the strategies that consistently worked for me are the ones that I'm going to share with you today.
Please share those. This is so beneficial. So tell us what you
Okay.
learned. Okay.
All right. So, look, it is a little drastic, but, these were drastic times. And the number one thing is to face the fear.
Mm.
You've got to face and ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the worst case scenario for everybody, I think we would possibly agree, worst case scenario is you die,
Right.
right?
Right.
Death. Death
Right.
is the end. It's the end of
Yeah.
the line. And you've got to ask yourself, am I going to die?
Right. Yeah.
And I'll give you the answer. The answer is yes,
Mm.
but probably not today.
Mm. Yes, this is true. That's the correct answer. Yes.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about fear, in this case, I'm not talking about when someone is mugging you and there's a knife or a gun and you think, man, I really could die here. Because if you are facing the question of, am I going to die? Then that's a different conversation about, am I prepared to die?
Right. Right.
So
Good.
in
Yep.
that case, I'd say, get prepared to die.
Yep.
Get your affairs in order. Make peace with your maker.
Yep.
However you do that, I'd recommend getting that in order.
Yes.
And then there's no fear of death. I was watching a movie not so long ago, Spartacus. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you this because it just, I was going to say arrested me, but that's already happened.
Trish.
But I stopped because this fella said, and I wrote it down. He says to Spartacus, "Aren't you afraid to die, Spartacus?"
Yeah.
And Kirk Douglas, in that magnificent
Yeah.
just glory that he was then, he turns and he says, "No more than I was afraid to be born."
Wow.
And I
Wow.
just went, wow, yes, we're all going to die. It's going to happen. There's no need to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Not a fan of pain and suffering, the gateway through.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So there's that. While we were losing everything, and it just seemed it couldn't get any worse. Oh, and then there's more, and then there's more.
Oh,
I had to get to the point that you have to clarify your values and say, what is important to me?
right.
What is empirically important? And I'm telling you, you will spend everything you have to stay out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was going. It felt like death of 1,000 cuts, just
Wow.
bleeding everywhere. And my two priorities were my husband and my children.
Of course.
At the time I was incarcerated, our big girl Chelsea was 10, and we have identical twin girls, Felicity and Olivia. They were 7.
Oh, Trish. Wow.
And this started a couple of years before that. Started in 2005, and prison was 2009, right? So they were little. And I did go to the doctors because I was having panic attacks, and I did get some medication to help, because it was that or alcohol, you know. So
Yeah, right. I can't imagine.
And
Yeah.
I just couldn't think. What I didn't know how to do then that I know how to do now are the other things that I'm going to share with you. And number one was face your fear. What's the
Right.
worst case scenario? And can you separate yourself from your material things? What is it that you're looking like you're losing? When you're comparing losing money with losing your personal freedom, losing your money doesn't look so bad, does it?
Not at all. Not at all. Perspective.
I was lucky enough to do both. Yay,
Yeah.
lucky me.
Right. Yeah.
But I had to get to the point of saying what matters to me is my husband, my children, and my sanity.
Yes. Amen.
So I got help for those. And I said to my husband, I can't remember at what point I said this, but I was very aware that so much has been taken from us. And I know that when people face financial hardship, it can affect their relationship with their partner, with their spouse. And I said, I will not lose this. This is what matters. This is my love of my life. And my husband said to the lawyers, look, can I go to jail instead of her?
Oh.
And I just went, oh.
That's love.
Honey.
That's love.
Yeah, look, they said he couldn't. And I said to him, look, darling, you're just way too good looking for prison. You're way too pretty for that. It's got to be me. I'm the one.
Trish.
And, you know, he stood by me, which I know a lot of people that doesn't happen for them. But there will be somebody in your life that I hope that, you know, nurture those relationships. Don't lash out and destroy those relationships in your own fear. Go for a drive. I went to a drive, sat in a parking lot late at night screaming because I didn't want to do it at home.
Oh, the pressure. Yeah. The pressure is enormous, what you're describing. Enormous.
Yeah. Yeah. And my screams were prayers. So if you have a spiritual connection that works for you, use it. If your spiritual connection is not good enough, is not working for you, then I would invite you. For me, I press into the Holy Spirit. I am a Christian, and I'm the kind of Christian that actually expects her prayers to be answered. Well, I did rework my expectations of what God is supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I found out that he's actually not at my beck and call, that he's actually God. And I found a place of surrender. Now, you don't have to be religious for this, but the serenity prayer, you know, the things you can't change, to accept them, fight like blazes. But I surrendered to, there's a verse in my culture, in the Christian culture, there's a verse that says God makes all things work together for good for those who love him. It doesn't say all things are good. And it doesn't happen automatically.
That's
right. I said, God, that surrendering, like, I give up. I can't do this.
Yep.
And I felt this weight off my shoulders. And instead it was replaced with, you'll handle it, you'll do it. And actually a psychologist helped me with that. Every time I had a fear, she said, I'll handle it, you'll handle it.
You know, I got to stop you there, because just pause for a second, because what you're saying really is so beautiful, that all of that pressure and all of that fear and everything that you were feeling, it's not that you weren't going to go through it. It was that you could take that burden and give it to God. So I think sometimes we think that he's going to fix it. Our prayer is, fix it, God, take it away. I want that miracle breakthrough where I get to the front of the, judge, and he says, you've been exonerated, right? You dream those miracles where these things happen, but yet things continue to get worse for you. It wasn't that he was going to stop it. It was that he was going to pick up your burdens if you let him, and meaning he will take you through it, because we're going to talk at the end about where you are today and the beauty. The beauty is taken from ashes. So that's another thing another tip of you're saying with the fear, important, which is to give it to God, put it on his shoulders.
Well, that's right. And if you're not a faith person, then find a way to, I guess it's a case of it's going to happen anyway. So find a way to drop that off and just go through, but get as much help as you can, and try to, be open. Don't make up your mind that God's not real. Be open, because you need all the help you can get.
So true.
Yeah. So and that was a big thing. And then I learned about my mental ecosystem. And this is what is a really big point with me, that everything works in an ecosystem, doesn't it? The planets, the fish, the birds, the animals, everything has a cycle. And in a mini ecosystem, in a pond, for example, if poison comes into that pond, it makes the rest of it toxic. It eventually goes through all of the creatures that are there. And that's what happens with our thought life. We have to protect that environment in our head by things like, you don't need to watch every time the news comes on. Once is enough, if at all. Be very careful about the relationships that you have and who you spend time with. After I came home from prison, I actually had to have a conversation with my mum, because she had lost money, and she said, if only we hadn't put that last bit in. And I had to say, Mum, I just feel so badly that you lost money because of my lack of wisdom.
Right.
And it hurts me so much to hear you talk about it. I said, I know you want to talk about it, but I'm just going to have to ask you not to talk to me about it anymore, because it just crushes me. And she, oh, well, no, she didn't mean for me to feel badly.
Yeah.
And she has honored that. And we've grown, and our relationship is even closer. And she too is learning to, she's a pastor, so she's got a lot of wisdom keys to start with. The conversation, don't be afraid to say to someone, you know what, I actually can't have this conversation right now. It's actually not great. Find a way to say it, but you don't have to participate in those conversations. Sometimes it's comforting to talk about the thing that's most in front of your mind. But whatever you focus on grows in your head. And the strongest prison bars, where's my prop? Here.
Where's your prop? There you go.
The strongest prison bars are in your head.
Amen.
And sometimes you have got to distance yourself from certain people. There are people on Facebook that I have quietly distanced, and so I don't see them, because it's not good for my mental health or emotional health to be around those sorts of people with stuff that's going on. So you've got to protect your mental. Garbage in, garbage out, whatever's going on. If you've got a grudge against someone, or something's happening at work and you're not forgiving and dealing with that, then it's going to affect all of your other relationships. So your mental ecosystem.
I love that. I love that, Trish.
It's just huge. So, do things that soothe you. There are, what are some go-to things that soothe you? Is there music? A lot of young people just listen to music, and sometimes it's really hard, thrashy music, but it just helps to numb things and get them. If they're in trauma, it can help calm them again. Rhythmic things like shooting basketball, just into the hoop, that can be relaxing and soothing, because your body needs time to pull back to restore and strengthen. Just as when you sleep, that's when your body heals itself, isn't it? Because you're stopping. It's not using all its energy doing, it's just healing. That's what our mind needs as well. And so you do what works for you. Maybe it's boxing.
Yeah.
that you get
I
that
love that.
fear and aggro out.
Yeah.
Get out on the grass, take your shoes and socks off and feel the grass.
That's so important. Connect with the electricity. And you know what you're basically saying is what I'm constantly telling people: spirit, soul, and body. Spirit, soul, and body. You know, the fear that we address in our life shows up in all three areas of our triune being,
Yes,
and
it does.
we can't ignore one area. We have the fear attacking us in those three areas, and our body eventually will demonstrate what we haven't dealt with here.
It will. It will. If you've had a trauma and you're full of unforgiveness towards
Yeah.
someone,
Yes.
don't be surprised if a couple of years later your body manifests illness
Yes.
in that, because and it's to do with the brain and your neural pathways and all that sort of thing. I'm not a brain speaker, but I've understood enough about protecting what goes on in here.
Amen.
If you have trouble forgiving, I have got material on how to forgive, and it's strong, specific stuff.
Wow.
So get in touch with me about that. It is Jesus-based,
Yeah.
so there is a bias there, but I just ask you to be open-minded. I can dilute it to leave that stuff out, but I don't think it'd be quite as powerful, but you never know. What have I got here? I made some notes because some of the things is really, really important.
And these are things, Trish, these are things that you used before the sentence, during all the loss that was happening. You started to learn about this in prison, out of prison. It's all applicable to each stage.
Yes, some of the things I didn't learn until after, and I wish I had learnt them earlier.
Yeah.
But the mental ecosystem stuff, I knew I had to be careful. That was all the way through. In prison, it's funny, prison was not so much scary as stressful. What I learned there, okay, here's something that I hadn't planned on, that I didn't put in my notes. Prison is full of scary looking people. And I made a conscious decision that I was not going to hide my faith.
Good.
That I was there for a purpose. And if I did hide my faith, then my whole being there would be wasted.
Yeah.
Now, that was my thinking at the time as a Christian person. I'm not sure how a non-Christian person would relate to this, but I felt like it was too important, too huge for it not to be something that was bigger than what it really looked like. There was something more going on, because every lawyer I've spoken to can't believe that I actually went to jail. And in Australia, jail and prison, those words are used interchangeably. This was the stuff. This was the rough stuff. And fortunately, it wasn't so much violent. Women's prison is not as violent, but they're very, very good at, if they want to get you, they're very, very good at doing things behind. It's like the 9th grade. I don't know about America, but around the 9th grade with girls, when they're at their meanest.
Yes. It's so.
Is that about that time for you guys, about that age group?
True, Trish, and I don't want to take away from a prison experience, but there's not, in my experience, Mean Girls is one of the most difficult things you can go through ever, right?
It is so that. It's like being stuck back in school, junior high school, with all the mean girls.
No,
I'm like, God, I couldn't handle it back then. I'm clueless now. But I said to God, you're going to help me here. And I have to see this through your eyes, because all I see are just, people I just would not normally choose to be around. But you see, when you're in there with people, it's no longer us and them, because I was then them. I had the same uniform on. I had been sentenced. I was no longer on the outside pointing at them going, that's them, this is me. I was them. And you know what? We are all them. Like we put ourselves in these little categories, but we are all human beings, and we all need to be loved. We all need self-respect, and we all need to be cared about. What I found was that as I looked at these ladies and I connected, I had to talk to them, I had to eat with them and connect with them. I no longer saw them as other, as them. I saw them as women with their own story, their own situation. My heart broke and turned inside out for them.
Wow.
These were the most despised people in society, and I
Wow.
was among them, and I was counted as one of them. And it changed, it just upset my value system of right and wrong. I mean, right and wrong, and in the sense that good guys and bad guys, and that people are just. And I found that I asked God to give me a heart to show me how He saw them. And whether you're a believer or not, you can ask the universe or whatever. You can just say, how else can I see this person so that our situation is more helpful? Compassion. How about that? Compassion and empathy. And taking my eyes off myself. So my eyes were on other people and being an encouragement to other people. See, he who waters is watered himself. When you're an encourager, I'll tell you what your number one enemy is during fearful times: self-pity.
Oh, yes. Amen. Amen.
Self-pity will poison your mental ecosystem, and you will poison other people. And you know what? People get sick of you. They won't want to be around you, and they won't want to help you.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, poor me. Oh, the church people are ignoring me. Oh, the pastor won't visit me. Oh, my friends at work won't even, won't have, and it's like, hello.
Yeah.
There might be some spirits of rejection that you need to reject yourself, but caring about others makes all the difference. And there's a couple of ladies that are still my close friends today that I met in there.
Wow.
And they're just beautiful people. And
wow.
I mean, some of them are real baddies. That's true.
Sure, of course.
Couldn't reach everybody, but while I was there, actually, I wrote letters and journal entries recording my journey. So I hope it's all right to say so, but I've got a book out that is a collection of my letters and journal entries that I've been reading it on Facebook out loud actually lately, and that's they can find that on my website. But record your journey. That's it. Record your journey and journal how you're feeling, but also your prayers, and wait and listen for the answers. Now, the gift I have for people is, well, we're not there yet, but that's what put me in mind of.
Yeah, go ahead. We can talk about it. Yeah, talk about the meditation.
Okay. So what you're going through, I have created specifically. I was looking for something to offer as a gift for this interview, but I actually created. It's about half an hour, a bit less. It's a meditation, but what it is, it will take you through getting into a place of peace and becoming empowered in that. I call it empowered peace.
Beautiful.
Now, I take people through this one-on-one if people want to get in touch with me about that. But this one is a general one where it will get you, because when you're frightened, you can't think.
Right,
so to get yourself in that calm space, which is what we will do, it'll be a video recording, and I'll extract the audio so you can download the audio for your listening when you're in bed or something. But it will get you into a state of peace and calm where you will then draw out some answers that will be of help to you. There's a few steps in it, like about three steps in doing that. But in the recording, I talk you through, and you can pause it at times when you want to make notes or whatever, and take your time as you go through. But it will help you to anchor yourself and absorb that peaceful feeling so that you can retrieve it later when you need it later on.
Yes, that's good.
That will be, yep. And what's
practice, isn't it, Trish? It's like a practice. If you practice peace, you practice it enough, when you need it, you know what that feels like. You know how to access it. Yep. You can put yourself there.
It becomes your go-to. So you'll still get rattled, but you'll more quickly remember to go back and retrieve that peace and step into it. It's like a force field. It's like it rises up from the inside, and it's something you can step into, and it's like Clark Kent to Superman, Linda Carter to Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Stepping into it and okay, I've got this, and drawing on that strength and that peace, because you're not going to die, not
No,
today.
no,
It's going to be okay.
that's right.
Every problem is solvable
Mhm.
eventually. Uh, and for those who are Christians, come on now,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you seek out those keys
yeah,
and speak the word, find the promises and speak them over yourself, and but primarily get intimate with God. So you can do this exercise if you're not a believer. So I've tailored it for both. It's not exclusively stripped of God, it is inclusive. So there's a touch of that in there, so that if you are a believer, you can tap into drawing on Holy Spirit. Someone else can,
yeah,
there'll be things in you'll be okay to do it. And you will be surprised. You can those answers are there, and the more
yeah.
you do it, the stronger you'll be.
You know,
Yeah.
Trish, I have to tell you that I'm so moved by your story. And it's, sometimes we need to hear extreme things to kind of shake us into understanding that we are okay and we can survive. You have thrived. But each part of your story relates, somebody in there, somebody listening now has had, financial distress, business collapse. Somebody has made a bad decision they didn't mean to make. I mean, you wanted these people to have their money, right? But there's a legality there that came into play. The pressure of getting involved with the wrong people, of things that you didn't decide to do, but so somebody's relating to pieces of this. You have this full extreme story, but it's a beautiful story of redemption. And the fact that you gave yourself up to the process when you decided to let God take the burden, but also your heart enlarged through this. I can tell that post prison, you are someone who loves people more, who has a more expansive heart towards the world. And not only that, you're now using, as a coach, as a speaker, as a motivator, you've been on TV in the US, right? On some of the
How about
Christian.
that?
Yeah, God's taken you around the world, and you just submitted yourself to that, and it's been your story. Now, we don't all have to have the same story, but the things you have said are so relatable, Trish. Honestly, so helpful. The details may be different, but the story
Yeah.
and the experience is human experience.
Yeah. Look, the fear. It's not like I don't get scared.
Yeah.
The shame I felt coming home, like to step into what I do, that third part, that most recent part of coming back with the normal people, I was suddenly very aware of how tainted I was. And a
Wow.
lot of people feel shame. They
Mm.
feel like because they've had a failure in the past, that that shame has them labeled like there's a mark on their head. But what I have found, I love Brene Brown's teaching on being vulnerable,
Yeah.
is that it was, do it afraid.
Yeah.
Joyce Meyer talks about do it afraid, but do it. And a little exercise you can do if you're feeling fear, go somewhere that's safe but scary. Now we can't at the moment necessarily, but I went to a theme park and went on the scary rides
Hmm.
because I needed to relate that adrenaline, the butterflies, and the heart palpitations with a thrill.
Oh,
And
wow.
stop it being associated with fear. So that's just another little step. That do little things that are not too much of a stretch, but are scary, and do them. And going public was really frightening. And every now and again, I would get it. I thought people would just turn on me. And yes, every now and again, someone was not nice to me.
Hmm.
But the thing is, my message is more important than my pride.
Yes. Oh, beautiful.
It's more important. What I've got to share with people helps them. I know that now. It was a risk at the start. I didn't know if anyone would care or be interested or think, who the heck does she think she is talking about that? But I know what I have is valuable. What you have is valuable. What your audience has, every single person on here, what you have inside you is valuable. If you allow fear to stop you stepping over that line, we're robbed.
That's right.
We're robbed.
That's right.
We need it. We need what you have. And you've got this. You
Yeah.
can do this. You practice on
Yeah.
the little things and you will change your bit of the world. Might not be
Yes.
huge, but you change someone's life for the better and help them, you get built up too.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Change.
Yeah.
I say when we try to define purpose, we spend a lot of time talking about it. And look, what we do is boil it down to just change somebody's life for the better. I can tell you, you have moved me today in this conversation. You have touched my heart. You have confirmed things that I believe and confirmed experiences I've had and given me even more insight. So I know there are people that are moved, and I really can't thank you enough. We need to do this again, but I want to go longer at some point. I would love to do a podcast or something, because we're barely scratching the surface, but you gave so much, Trish. I just reach out to you in Australia from the US and give you a big hug and thank you for the lives you have just touched. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, everybody do this. And I'm a toucher and a hugger. When I'm giving talks, I just go to and I just grab them and hug them. I can't do that now. I can't wait to get back to America when I'm allowed to be able to, to do talks and things. So, but I can do it virtually, digitally, universities, places, everyone's happy to, just whatever. Yeah. But it's just been such a pleasure, Elizabeth. It's just been such a thrill and so refreshing and invigorating to go over this stuff and share it with people. Thank you for having me on. It's made a huge difference.
Well, it's amazing that I found you, and I'm going to be following you, and everybody should follow you. And I just believe that you will get in front of so many people in the next year that will hear your story. And God is not even close to being done with this. This is just the beginning, Trish. Amazing. Amazing.
Thanks
I love
so much. I would love to hear from everybody through the socials, and if they want that, I should let them know how to get the gift, because I didn't do a special download page and stuff. You just
that's okay. It's an email.
Me.
Yep, you're gonna have
email. Just email me and I'll send them to you. So yeah,
that's awesome.
That's great.
We'll post that down below the video when this goes live, so it'll be available to them. So I can't thank you enough again, Trish. Thank you. We will do something in the future, and everybody who's watching, I just believe you've been blessed and touched. So Trish, thank you so much for your time.